What is up, everybody? I hope you are having a fantastic evening. We are just a few short days away from the 49ers matching up with the Giants, which means it's behind enemy lines time. I got my guy Dash in the building. We're going to talk all about this matchup, some of the trade deadline stuff. These two teams have been linked a little bit in rumors, so I want to discuss that. Also, I want to know what's going on with the Giants. You guys got a whole new culture shift going on, so we'll discuss some of that, but we will hit it all next. All right, welcome back to Last Second Sports. We are giving you our take down to the last second. And this is actually streaming over on Dash's channel as well. So make sure you check him out. Big Dash. Link's going to be in the description. If nothing else, like I say, to talk trash if the 49ers win. Dash, my man, thank you so much. This is 2 years in the making. We were talking backstage. We played a couple years ago. We tried to link up. It didn't work out then. You actually reached out this time, and it just made sense for me to kind of host it. But overall, man, really, really happy to do this. I admire your channel from afar, and I think this is going to be a really fun collaboration, brother.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, man. Listen, the Giants are in an interesting place right now. And where I want to start is, what were the expectations for this season going into things? I know, like, on the 49ers side, I had them at 10 wins, 10-7, easy schedule, not quite as good as what they've been in the past. I think that much was clear. They're trying to build up some of these rookies and second-year players. 10-7 is about where I had them. But what about the Giants? Like, what was the expectation from you going into the season when you broke down the schedule? I know that they had a really tough schedule, especially to start. And you guys signed Russell Wilson, you drafted Jackson Dart, and you kind of are trying to groom the young quarterback while also be competitive with the veteran. And here we are. Jackson Dart's been playing for a few weeks now. Are things going according to plan, based off of what Dash thought preseason?
Well, man, when you look at the record, of course, things are not going as planned. Not really. It was a bit of a roller coaster when the schedule came out. Found out we had, the second hardest schedule at that point in time. Second hardest schedule, and you look at the schedule, it's like, man, this is a tough schedule. So I always do ranges. I had a range from 6 to 9 wins is where I was at. Obviously, you get Jackson Dart. Didn't know what Jackson Dart was actually going to be when we drafted him. Happy to have him now, but when we got to the preseason. And I saw the offense. Russell Wilson looked nice. Was scoring points in the preseason. I moved it up from 6 to 9 wins for the range to 7 to 10 wins. And I was riding pretty high going into the season. And then obviously you start off 0-3 and things start to change. So ultimately I thought around this time, you figure after 8 weeks, I thought maybe, just maybe we can be, at least 3 to 4 wins. 4-4 would have been fantastic. But instead we're sitting here at 2-6. And despite that, there's still some hope within the fan base as well that we can, still be competitive.
Well, I got to ask you, because Brian Daboll, he won Coach of the Year that first year there, surprised everybody. I was not a Daboll believer at all. And then after that first year, I was like, man, maybe I'm wrong about this guy. And then it's just kind of been downhill since then. Is Daboll on the hot seat, and should he be?
Yeah, it depends on who you ask. Shout out to Luann. I see Luann. Luann's a big Daboll supporter. For me, he's absolutely on the hot seat. Not only him, also the GM. And it just goes to, yes, you got Jackson Dart this year. Yes, it energized the fan base, but you're still not getting the wins. So for me, I thought maybe he can crawl off of the hot seat, depending on what happens still this year. If Jackson Dart continues to be successful, maybe he's able to stay. But you got to win. But yeah, I think he's absolutely still on the hot seat. Got to win some games. I think right now they're holding on to the DC to possibly be like the scapegoat at the end of the season, possibly. If we continue to lose games the way that we're losing, no way he stays the whole season. And then you got to wonder who's going to be the one that falls on the sword after that. But for me, absolutely, Brian Daboll is on the hot seat. The regime is on the hot seat.
I think this is so tough, right? Because Jackson Dart being a rookie, and this happens so many times throughout the course of the NFL, where one regime is there, they draft a young quarterback looks promising,
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you get rid of that regime and it's like you don't know what's going to happen. The next guy could come in and be like, I don't want
Yeah,
Jackson Dart. I want to do my own thing. And so and especially when you have an offensive minded coach, like I get it if you had a defensive minded head coach, but it's really hard when you have an offensive minded guy. You're guaranteed that he's going to learn essentially a new system if Dayball leaves. And so this is tough for me because I would have said for sure, yes, he should be on the hot seat. Maybe he should be fired, what have you, especially the way Danny Dimes playing over with the Colts, by the way. That's a whole nother story. But either way, um, you don't want to stunt the growth of Jackson Dart. This one's tough for me, man. From afar, I don't know what they should do.
now the fan base really is split on that. The thing I'll say to that is this: when you see Jackson Dart be successful, a lot of it is making plays after a play is breaking down or broken down.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Creating some time and getting downfield, creating with his legs, and how much of that is design. It's not by design. So in my opinion, yes, you don't want to possibly stunt the growth of Jackson Dart, but I look at a similar situation in San Diego. Well, used to be the San Diego Chargers with Justin Herbert. He's on his third coach. If a quarterback is good, he's
It's
going to
true.
be no matter who that coach is. So I don't think that Jackson Dart, the success of Jackson Dart, saves Brian Dable. But I do understand the argument that you don't want to make that change because if he's already comfortable in his system, let's continue on that path. So I understand both arguments, but for me, I don't think that's going to be a point or a decision maker for me, whether or not Brian Dable stays if that affects Jackson Dart overall.
No, that's a really good point. I mean, Baker Mayfield has had a new offensive coordinator every year of his career. He seems to be doing just fine. So you're either good or you're not. That's a very fair point. Okay. All right. All right. I'm
Yeah.
a believer. I'm a believer. Okay. Let's let's talk about some of the trade rumors going around because we're,
Oh,
just a little over a week away from things going down. I know that 49er fans would love to have Kayvon Thibodeau. Also, I think you guys have been linked, at least rumor wise, to maybe getting a receiver. We have
yep.
Jawan Jennings, who isn't happy. You could probably have him for a 6th round pick. I think that might be a good settling point there. 49er fans are a bit delusional sometimes where, we think, hey, we can give him Jennings in a 5th round pick and we'll just get Kayvon Thibodeau. It's like, no,
I'm
no, no,
glad
no,
you said
that's not going to happen. So that being said, what do you foresee happening with the trade deadline and the Giants?
it. Is if you would have asked me like a week ago before the game, before that loss, I think that we're probably going to be some buyers, at the trade deadline. Now a week later, we could possibly be sellers. I did see that rumor. I think it was 2 weeks ago of the straight up trade between Jennings and Kayvon Thibodeau. I'm like, no, as bad as we need a receiver, that's not a heads up trade. Player for player. But yeah, we're definitely. Well, the fans are definitely in the market for a wide receiver. Hearing some rumors that pretty much that with this regime being where they are right now, that they're not able to make any moves, and they don't want because they don't know if they're going to be here next
Mm,
year, giving up draft capital, possibly giving up a player. They might not have the ability to do that. But as far as Giants fans go, we definitely want a wide receiver. We had a tryout, was it yesterday? And we had like over 14 players in for a tryout, and you figure it's the middle of the season. So one of those guys was Deontay Johnson. To me, that's a no-brainer. Doesn't cost you any draft capital. You just sign a guy vet minimum, and get him on the squad. But Jawan Jennings, I know he's had some issues with injuries. Again, you said he's a little bit disgruntled. You guys have a history of disgruntled wide receivers because I know Brandon
this
Ayuk is another guy
goes all
too,
the way back to T.O., brother.
right? So, hey, you said the magic word. You said a 6th rounder for Jennings. I would
I
possibly
think
do
so.
that for Jennings for the 6th rounder. What kind of contract is he? How many more years or how
It's a
much
free
control?
agent after this year. Free agent
Oh,
after
okay.
this year.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so 6th rounder. If you guys are willing to give him up for a 6th rounder, I'll do that. I would do that.
I think that that's exactly what he would probably go for. I mean, with the injuries, he hasn't played up to snuff.
Mm,
He hasn't been happy. And I think that that's a trade. Listen, if the regime doesn't have autonomy to make moves, a 6th round pick's not going to make or break anything. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So I feel like that's a move where it's like the front office can say, hey, we want to at least make Jackson Dart look good. This helps a little bit, but we're not giving up a whole bunch. Yeah, just you're coming to the Meadowlands anyways. Just go ahead and leave him here. Just take your flight back and leave Jennings with us. We're good to go. Here's your 6. So
No, that's
maybe
fine.
that's the way it works out.
Yeah, we got 3 6th round picks too, man. So that would be music to my ears if we made some kind of move like that.
Now, you did say that you might be sellers. Do you
Yes.
think that they want to move on from Kayvon Thibodeau, or do you believe what is out there in the ether, which is they're not interested in moving Kayvon?
Yeah. So I do believe that they're not willing to move Kayvon for what they're being offered. But I also know that Kayvon Thibodeau, he's the type of player. Don't expect a hometown discount from him either. So when you look at what he might get in the open market, we saw the deal that Hutchinson got today, and that's the same draft class. So for me, it's like, do we have the money to pay Kayvon? We do have the 5th-year option on him. If he decides to hold out, we do already have possibly his replacement in the building with Abdul Carter. It just depends on how how things play out. So for me, if somebody wants to offer a third rounder, I would like a second rounder and some draft capital on top of that too, or maybe a player or two, in order to even think about it or consider moving Kayvon, because this is possibly his best year since we had him, and he waited to a contract year to be the best that he can be, like a lot of players
That's the
do.
way it always works. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think for 49er fans, there's a lot of rumors like Hendrickson and Thibodeau and some other guys out there. I think on the 49er side of the house, I believe the 49ers don't want to give up anything in the first 4 rounds. And that just means that you're not going to get anybody of substance. I personally think John Lynch, coming from the media side of the house before he was a general manager, he knows exactly what he's doing. So he's putting out there, like, Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson and all these guys to make it look like they're really pushing to kind of pacify 49er fans. I don't think that they're actually looking at those guys. I really don't.
no,
I think that they're going out and they're looking at like Mozzie Smith, and they're offering 5th-rounders for the Jets edges, knowing that they're not going to get them. And that's probably where it's at. I could be wrong. We'll see. I don't think that they're going to make a big time trade, and I don't think that they really want to. So
I know with because you guys lost Bosa, obviously that's a
mhm.
big deal. Where
Yeah.
is that weak? Is the weakness on the edge, or is it interior
It's everywhere,
everywhere?
depth everywhere. I mean, listen, they went out and they made a small trade with the Patriots yesterday,
Hmm.
picked up another edge rusher, but they had 2 healthy edge rushers on the roster going into yesterday. Like that's how bad it is. There's
Wow.
so many injuries. We're gonna get there here in a minute, but
Yeah.
yeah, man. I mean, that's it. But it's like you're not gonna get a guy to replace Bosa this year.
No.
You're not gonna replace Fred Warner. And quite frankly, even if those guys were healthy, I was under the belief that the 49ers are not a true Super Bowl contender. They definitely are a playoff team, or had a potential to be that, and maybe they still can, but I thought that they would get in the playoffs and probably be one and done, and that was the ceiling for this team. So I wouldn't go all in. I think building the future, continuing to hone in these draft picks, have another good draft, and that's how you got to build things. You can't do what the Saints did, where you always think you're competitive. We're
Yeah.
always competitive and we're always paying everybody. And that's how you get into trouble. And the 49ers were so smart this offseason, cutting some of the fat on some of those bad contracts. It's like, well, stick with the plan.
Yeah.
If you make the playoffs, great, but it's not about 2025. It's about 26 and 27 and going forward. So that's the way that I see things, anyways.
That's the same way I am. Even with this year with Jackson Dart, you had people that want to trade for Chris Olave, or and give up a
Right.
second rounder. Well, we already don't have a third round pick, so I mean, and this draft class is going to be deep with wide receivers. Linebacker
Hmm.
class is good. Defensive tackles are good, and these are all positions of need. And you don't really want to give up your second rounder for a guy that has concussion issues or anything like that. So, for me, I think with this year is it's all about, like you said, to your point, 2025 and beyond, not just 2025. But I'll say this though, you guys are actually winning games,
Yeah, that's
despite
true.
being injured and all the other stuff. So, who knows? And once you get into the dance, if you go on a run, you can go on a run. So, but I know you guys have some holes, especially because of injuries.
Well, I want to talk about this because I did see this on social media. I don't know if it was a media guy or who, but this whole Dexter Lawrence's soft things. I don't know what is going on here, man. Dexter Lawrence to me is like the cream of the crop when it comes to defensive tackles.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm looking at it through an old lens and he's not that anymore, but I was shocked to see that whole thing. And then Dexter Lawrence sounds like he took some exception to those comments.
yeah.
Is this really what the fan base thinks? I mean, you send them on
So
over, man.
now, this, what happened was Carl Banks. Carl Banks, obviously legendary linebacker, Carl Banks, Super Bowl winner. He had made some comments on his podcast the day after the game, and he was saying how Dex coming off of injuries, Dex doesn't look like Dex, and what he was saying is
Mm,
that pretty much the teams these players don't respect you anymore. And obviously the beat writers got a hold of that, ran with it, and they finally got a chance to ask those questions today. With media availability, and he pretty much called Carl Banks delusional if he thinks this, that, and the third. So, it's something that's in house that happened to spill out into media, and they got a hold of it. A lot of people now Dex has been upfront about not being happy with the losses, but he has never said anything about wanting to leave or anything like that. So, you figure since he's been here outside of 2022, the Giants have been losers, losing records and stuff like that and not being competitive. And then this year he's coming off of an injury with the elbow, and not quite looking like Dex. And for me, I was thinking maybe, coming off the injury, he's not 100%. Also, he didn't really practice during the offseason, preseason, and stuff like that. Maybe he's out of shape, but we're sitting here at week 8. And despite coming back off that injury, week 8, you should be looking like the Dex of old. So he kind of got called out for it. I think it's the first time Dex has ever been called out before. Rightfully so, because he's been phenomenal. But I wouldn't look too much into that as far as him actually being available or the Giants. Definitely not the Giants themselves, trying to get rid of him or move him.
Yeah, I can't imagine that that's a move that they want to make. Dart comes in from your channel. He says, best QB should win this week. Dart is better than Purdy and Jones. I'll say this. Listen, man, I'm not a favorite amongst 49er fans when it comes to the topic of Brock Purdy, at least. And I thought that they shouldn't have paid him. I wouldn't have done it. I would have made him play out his contract. And if they had done that, my gosh, they would have saved a lot of money the way this year has gone.
Yeah.
And I just feel like unless you're elite, you shouldn't get paid. But I'm sitting back and I'm watching these young quarterbacks like a Jackson Dart, like a Bo Nix, like a, maybe not Cam Ward so much, but, just a lot of these young quarterbacks coming through. Drake May, for example. And I'm like, man, Brock Purdy was around 12-ish to me, 12, 14-ish.
Yeah.
But he's missing game after game after game. And these young guys are coming, man. It's not going to be easy to be near the top 10 ever again in his career. Like, he's got to get on the field. And, Jackson Dart, we'll see. I need 3 years of watching a quarterback before I fully feel like I know what they are, because you just have it where either quarterbacks come in and they're cold and then they pick up, or they're great and they fall off. And so you kind of need that third year to gauge things. So we'll see with Jackson Dart. I liked him a lot coming out of college, but he's playing really good football. And part of the quarterback position is just being confident, man. And he plays with so much swag and so much confidence. He's changing the culture over there, man. You got to feel good about that at the very least. He's a lot of fun.
No, absolutely. For me, I'm already bought in. I'm bought in on Jackson Dart for a few reasons. Is because I'm seeing what he's playing with, and he's making the players around him better. That's one thing about a quarterback position. You got some quarterbacks where the team picks them up, and then you have quarterbacks that pick the team up. And right now, that's what he's doing at 22 years of age. For you guys, man, I thought you guys kind of not necessarily lucked out. I was under the impression. Well, this was actually my thoughts were. With Kyle Shanahan, it was like, plug and play quarterback. Somebody that can run his system is going to be successful. He's just that good of a coach. And then when I saw that you guys got Mac Jones, I just remember, when he was coming out in the draft, there was rumors saying that he actually liked him more than Trey Lance. Mm-hmm. So here you go. You got Mac Jones in here now. And for me, when I look at Mac Jones versus Brock Purdy, I really don't see too much of a difference as far as production and how the team is looking. It looks kind of the same. So for me, I'm like, man, you guys, it could be Shanahan, which I believe a lot of that does have something to do with Shanahan. But I'm looking at Mac Jones, and it doesn't look and looking who he's playing with, and you guys are not missing the beat. It looks kind of the same, and he's out there doing his thing, in my opinion.
Listen, even if Brock Purdy's marginally better, right?
Yeah.
Your starting quarterback shouldn't be this close to the backup, especially 100%. When the pay discrepancy is that. And I don't know how many times as a fan base we can fall for the okie doke. It's like, oh, Jimmy Garoppolo, look at his first 16 starts compared to Tom Brady. The numbers are this. Or Nick Mullins. You got the graphic of Nick Mullins next to Patrick Mahomes and how they started their career. And then Brock Purdy and all these numbers he's putting up. And then it's like, so all of these guys are great. Jimmy Garoppolo was great, and Nick Mullins was great, and Brock Purdy's great, and Mac Jones is great. And like, no, that's not the case. And
come from.
And here's the thing is, Not every quarterback can do this, by the way. And this is also a misconception where it's like, well, you can just take any quarterback and plug them in. That's not necessarily the case. It has to be a certain style of quarterback.
Yeah.
Justin Fields here would be a disaster. He holds on to the ball too long. He runs around too much. Caleb Williams would be a disaster. Jimmy Garoppolo down the stretch of his career was a disaster because he held on to the ball too long. So you got to have a guy that can come in, be accurate, play on time and in rhythm. And as long as you have that, they're going to succeed here. It's going to look very, very similar to all the other guys. So you shouldn't pay these guys. And, here we go. He's missed 6-7 games and they paid him a lot of money and we'll see how it plays out. But I wouldn't have done it. And
so I got a question for you. So when they got that deal, when they offered him that deal, you guys are pretty much between the rock and the hard place because you didn't have another option, right? Who was the backup quarterback at that point in time for Purdy?
I mean, well, they signed Mac this offseason, but this is the problem. This is Miami did this, right? Where it's like, oh, well, who else but Tua? I mean, they regret that deal. Giants did it. With Daniel Jones. I mean, unless it's an elite guy, you always end up regretting the big deal. You just do. And when you have an elite guy because everybody in the fan base believes it. When half the fan base or a third of the fan base, like, I don't know, I'm not sure, maybe I wouldn't. You don't have an elite guy. There's nothing worth discussing. It's just everybody knew Josh Allen was elite. Everybody knew Patrick Mahomes was elite. Everybody buys into Matthew Stafford unless, maybe you're a fan of another team, but people knew Jared Goff wasn't elite as great as he is.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud's starting to go down that path where it's like, man, he's probably not elite either. Like, I don't know if I would pay him. So I don't know, man. It's just ever since the salary cap era came out, Dash, there's two types of quarterbacks that win championships. It's either guys that are very inexpensive or guys that are paid and are elite. The exception to the rule is the guy that's not elite and is getting paid. Maybe if you want to throw Eli Manning in there, then it's happened twice in 30 years of the salary cap era, but otherwise it hasn't happened. So why are you trying to play with the exception when the rule is already set in stone that this is what it is?
No, that's good. And I do agree with that because when I'm looking at these quarterbacks now, like I think about the quarterback window for a lot of these guys. And versus the salary cap. And when we're in the situation right now with a rookie in Jackson Dart on a rookie contract, and you're looking at some of the guys that might be coming up for a contract, you got, most likely Dexter Lawrence gets a new deal. We just signed Brian Burns. We just signed Andrew Thomas with an extension. But you can spend that money when you have a rookie on that, or I should say, a quarterback on that rookie contract. For you guys, again, like you said, you just paid Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy did take you to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? But again, when you're looking at this,
just like Jimmy took us to the Super Bowl.
He did. But like I said, your scenario is a lot different because I just think your coach is so damn good. Like Shanahan is so good, so competitive, and still has so much fire because it's not like he's a spring chicken either. He's getting a little bit older. He's not old, but he's just been so consistent in the system you can't deny. Like I would love to have a coach like Shanahan right now to be able to get his hands on our quarterback in this situation.
See, these are the comments that crush me. Mac holds the ball too long. You know that there are stats for this, right? And Brock Purdy actually holds the ball longer than Mac Jones. Like, we do know that. That's factual. Like, there are numbers for this. So if Mac holds it too long, then Brock certainly holds it for too long. Kent wants to know, is Jennings going to get traded? I honestly don't know. If I had to take a stab at it, I would say, yeah, he probably will. But we'll see how it plays out. All right, man, this is the time of the show where I got to give a shout out to my sponsor, Sleeper. Actually, here, let's do it this way. There we go. Sleeper, promo code LSS to get a 100% deposit match of up to $100. You can play daily fantasy, weekly fantasy, yearly fantasy, or do what we're going to do, which is make some picks. Also, if you use the promo code Sleeper, you can get a free $20 entry. You don't even have to make a deposit. Link is pinned in the top of the description. All right, Dash, there's not a lot in here because we don't know who's even going to play for the 49ers. So we're gonna go this way. I'll let you make two picks on your side, either more or less, based off of what you're feeling, and then I'll do the same on my side. Tyrone Tracy, he's going to be the guy going forward. Do you believe he scores in this game?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. So we're going to hit the more on that one. And then Jackson Dart, 204.5 passing yards, more or less?
Like my man Authentic said, I'll take the push. I like that number 204.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this.
I'll say
Oh,
less though. I'll say less.
Here's what we can do. This is
Okay.
great about Sleeper. We can tease this down. So we don't feel good about 204. What about 175? We go more on 175. We feel
Yes.
good about that? All right,
Yes.
we'll take 175. We're going to tease it down. We're going to tease it down. Okay. CMC is definitely going to score. Kittle's not. There we go. There's our entry. So we're going to put 10 to win 34. We'll submit that. You can tail us. You can fade us. But either way, use promo code LSS to get your deposit match. All right, Dash, let's get back to it, man.
Yes, sir.
Injury report's very long for the 49ers. And I assume that it's not short for the Giants.
It
You
is not
guys lost Cam Scattaboo, which was a rough one.
very
Although I think, you know what's interesting is you tell me if I'm right or wrong on this one. I feel like Tracy's a better player, but Scattaboo just brought that extra energy that was kind of culture changing there with Jackson Dart. Am I wrong on that?
See, it's tough. I think Tracy has the ability to be explosive, but he is definitely not the same type of runner as far as the aggressive power and stuff like that. But going into the season, Tracy was the starter, and then he got hurt, and then separated his shoulder. Friggin', he came in, Scatable came in, and pretty much just took over, and then it became the Jackson Dart and Cam Scatable show. So but I do think that people are going to remember that Tyrone Tracy of what he did last year, that he can actually be that same type of player. Again, he's not a bell cow, not a workhorse, but he can also make plays. If we can block it up, he can get to where he needs to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Val, listen, I mean, you can play Sleeper. I said you can fade us or tail us. If you think Kittle scores, man, just use promo code LSS and
I'm
get your
saying this right now.
free deposit.
The one thing about the Giants, we have issues with tight ends, being able to cover tight ends. So yeah, if they want to go ahead and take that, they should, because we struggle with all shapes and sizes when it comes to the tight end. We have issues for sure.
All right. All right. Well, maybe I should have taken Kittle to score. All right. Listen, the 49ers have a ton of injuries. We don't know who's going to play quarterback this week. It's 50-50 probably.
Okay.
Brock Purdy is practicing again on a limited basis. But what I will say is the defensive line is completely banged up. So we know, I'm just going to talk about edge rushers for a second.
Yeah.
We know that Bosa's out for the year. Huff is out for this week as well.
Oh, okay.
Sam Okawanu, who is kind of a dark horse player, is really kind of coming on strong. He looks like he's going to be out. Yatir Gross-Matos hasn't really played all year. So that's it. I mean, our edge rushers are toast. We had an edge rusher get picked off the practice squad, and Gibson got picked up by the Carolina Panthers this week. We went and signed Cleveland Farrell. We made a trade with the Patriots. So we're struggling when it comes to that position. Ricky Pearsall did not practice again today. So we're going to be thin again at wide receiver, it seems like. Brandon Ayuk's practice window did not open up. And then the last player that I want to mention that did not practice is D. Winters. He's been starting, one of the starting linebackers for us. Had an up and down season, but he's a pretty dang good player. He didn't practice either. So the 49ers are banged up, man. What is going on with the Giants? What's your guys' injury report looking like on a Wednesday?
Yeah, it was so long I had to write it down. So man, I got it right here. Pulse on the
Okay.
Debo with the knee, did not practice. We're not expecting him to play. Even though Brian Dable before practice said that he should be out there today. They ended up saying that he did not practice. Daniel Bellinger did not practice. Illuminor, Flott, Chauncey Golston, Artie Green, Jalen Hyatt also didn't practice today, but he was getting a wisdom tooth pulled. So we're down a few guys. You figure our right tackle didn't practice. One of our top tight ends didn't practice. CB1 didn't practice. Luckily, we got Javon Holland back, the safety. He was limited practice today.
Oregon Duck, yeah, I like it.
Back,
Him and
back.
Thibodeau were Oregon Ducks together.
Yep, absolutely. And well, we'll talk about that a little bit later, because we're still expecting more from Holland. Understand he had to get back, to where he is. But yeah, so yeah, it's our injury report pretty deep as well. I will say, as far as key players go, especially on the defensive side, you got us beat when it comes to these injuries, for sure. But we've been having issues. We've been even with the starters, we've been struggling. Pulse on the Debo at CB1. I'll be lying if I said he's been doing fantastic. But that's the guys behind him, Cordell Flott. So we're down our CB1, CB2, and it doesn't look like Flott is going to play with the concussion. He's still in protocol. So you guys might be looking at Tay Banks and possibly Corey Black as the starting cornerbacks for the New York Giants this week, and that makes me extremely nervous.
Well, listen, you should get Kendrick Bourne on your fantasy team, especially if Mac Jones starts, because he's going to feed him, baby. Okay, well, that's injury team versus an injured team. That's it's going to be a good one. Well, talk about this then, because this means that you have to have at least one player on this team that, unless you're a Giants fan or you just follow the NFL really closely, you probably don't know about a player on the team that is really making a difference, or maybe a young guy that you guys are excited about how his career is going to play out. I'm going to give you a name on the 49ers. We have quite a few that I can choose from, but this week I'm going to go with Tatum Bethune. He's the one that has filled in admirably for Fred Warner. You don't replace Fred Warner. That's number one. But Tatum Bethune was a super late round pick last year. He's really rounding into his own. He's been phenomenal in the run game. Hit and miss as far as the pass game goes, but in the run game, he's certainly making a difference. He's the guy that's got the green dot on his helmet, and he's just doing a fantastic job for a year two guy that was as late of a round draft pick as he was. Watch out for him this week. He's definitely a difference maker for the 49ers. I'm curious to see which player or players you're going to mention for the Giants.
Yeah, so on I'll start with the offensive side first. Obviously, with us losing our weapons, Malik Neighbors and losing Scatterbull, we've been leaning heavy on the tight ends actually. So Theo Johnson, Daniel Bellinger as a 1-2 punch with the tight end spot is where we've been getting where I should say the bread's been buttered. We run a lot of 12 personnel, in some cases 13 personnel, and we like to move the sticks, targeting the tight end. And for me, Daniel Bellinger has stepped up a lot this year. Another guy, 4-year guy on a contract year. Of course, you want to do your best when you're on a contract year, but that's going to be the tight end spot. Will be what I'll say as far as the offense. On the defensive side, I'll also call out a rookie. Obviously, New York Giants have struggled in the run game last year, the year before that, and then we picked up a guy, Darius Alexander, out of Toledo, defensive tackle. First couple of games, he was a healthy scratch, and then once he started getting them involved, he's progressed and he's getting better. So they're playing him next to Dexter Lawrence. Sometimes he's subbing in for Dexter Lawrence, and he's getting a good push. Got a couple QB pressures as well, but we have not seen him make that push in the run defense yet. So hopefully, this is one of those games where we're pretty much eyeballing Christian McCaffrey. Can we stop him, stop the run a little bit? But that's that. Those will be my I guess Darius Alexander on defense, defensive tackle, and then the tight ends on offense will be those sleepers.
Yeah, Alexander, man, he's there was a lot of defensive tackles in this year's draft that were like later round guys. Him, Nazir Stackhouse, a lot of interesting guys, and I feel like all of them have kind of played pretty well. So it's cool to see that he's doing well over there for you guys. Yeah, you have a lot to be excited about, at least with that defensive line. That's for sure. You guys are putting things together over there.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the strength of the Giants. I'm curious to see, what that is. Is it the defensive line? What are you guys looking at? Like, what makes your team tick?
Yeah. So despite having like the defensive rankings that we have, we're like we're in the 20s, mid 20s, in a lot of those as far as giving up yards, points scored and stuff like that. But despite that, it's still going to be the pass rush. It's still going to be Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence. It's going to be that defensive front. Now, one thing is we cannot stop the run to save our lives right now. I saw a stat yesterday saying that teams that run to the edge, we're giving up almost 7 yards per carry when teams attack the edge, and that scares me because you guys have Christian McCaffrey back there who can affect the running game. Oh, what's the face for? He's still doing his thing. Last week was a little bit of a struggle. I saw that.
There's a debate going on. So I before the season started, myself and another content creator said that he had lost a step. And Christian McCaffrey, outside of the Falcons game, is averaging 3.1 yards per carry. And where I think you see the lost a step is those outside zone plays. He just can't get to the outside the way that he used to. He's still a menace when it comes to a receiving game for sure. And if you block for him, he's still going to do his thing. But He's struggling to get to that edge. So when they've been doing their best, they're actually running power and duo and those types of things, which is
Okay.
right at the teeth of your defensive line. So I'm curious. I think, the 49ers are worst in the league when it comes to yards per carry. They are third worst when it comes to rushing yards per game. So this is weakness versus weakness. Something's got to give here. I'm very curious to see how this plays out.
Yeah. Again, if you guys can get to the edge, I don't care if he lost a step or not. We are weak when it comes to the edge.
Okay.
Kayvon Thibodeau is probably the most solid edge setter for us. But as good as Brian Burns is with the pass rush and getting pressure on the quarterback, he has not made that kind of like that statement yet in the running game. I see Bobby Okereke. They asked if he was healthy. Bobby Okereke is healthy, but if you have seen Bobby Okereke, the former
He's
Bobby
on a milk
Okereke,
carton. Yeah.
please tell him to come home because he's been missed. No, now Bobby Okereke to me, I think with the change at DC going from Wink to Shane Bowen, he's not being played the same, and a lot of people for him about him are saying that he's lost a step too. I don't think he forgot how to play football at all. Maybe age has something to do with it, but he's only like 28 years old. I just think that it's just not a scheme fit for Bobby Okereke. And then when you lose Micah McFadden in the first game of the season, he was that next guy up, another linebacker on the contract here. So yeah, going back to your original question, the pass rush, being able to get after the quarterback, that's where our strength lies, and everything else will survive off of that. You said that your offense is pretty much timing based. And I do think, and I wish it was Brock Purdy coming back this week for his first week and having to see, this pass rush. But I think Mac Jones has settled in. He might give you the best shot in this scenario to get the ball out quick. But again, that's what we need to lean on, and hopefully that pass rush helps the secondary because our second level is not playing that well either.
Listen, man, back to the original point. If Josh Allen was out, would you be saying that? If the elite quarterbacks were out, would you be like, hey, maybe your backup quarterback gives you a better chance? So I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. You're saying it without saying it. All right. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, listen. The strength of the 49ers is our coaching staff, man. We're so banged up. We are so banged up. The offensive line is not the strength. The running game is not the strength. Stopping the run is not the strength. Stopping the pass is not the strength. It's like the totality of the team, the grittiness of the team, and the coaching staff. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, when he's on, he's going to dial things up. When Robert Saleh is on, he's going to dial things up. And oddly enough, we went from Jake Moody, who was absolutely atrocious here, to Eddie Pinheiro. Our kicking game is a strength of this team. And a team that just hangs around, plays gritty football, and is usually in close games, you're going to need some of those kicks. And so when you got a guy that you can rely on to make 50 plus every time he's out there, that is a strength of a team like this. So that's what I would say the strength is. Weakness, you can go a lot of different areas. Again, offensive line, you can go. Our running game, you could go get, since Bosa's been out, 5 sacks in 4 games. You can go there. Like, there just is nothing you can hang your hat on with this team, but they keep finding a way to stick around and win games. So you can go weakness almost anywhere else on this team or this roster. What would you say the biggest weakness is for the Giants right now?
Got to be the secondary right now. Outside of the injuries, we weren't playing that well. After that, you got some guys that are real liabilities. So I'll point out a player like Drew Phillips, cornerback, slot nickel that we have, right? Absolutely fantastic in supporting the run. Anything short, intermediate, he pretty much has that covered as well. Anything past 20 yards, he becomes a liability. So we've seen a lot of coaches or teams scheme against him, those matchups to get him deep down the field in coverage, especially on one-on-ones. And we've seen him, get pinpointed and pretty much exploited at that fact. But also having some issues with communication. You figure you got guys that have been playing together for the first time. You got, as far as safeties go, we had Nubin with Holland. We had a Debo with in there too. So a lot of issues with miscommunication happened. We saw it in the first Philadelphia game, second Philadelphia game as well, where guys are running around open. Quarterback just was missing them. We got a chance to survive. So for me, secondary for sure. Hoping to get better play from the linebackers. We're down to our third linebacker in Darius Muasau next to Bobby Okereke, and him side to side has also been a liability. Like I said, downhill, he's been great. Against the run, he's been okay. But as far as patch coverage goes, again, tight ends are our Achilles heel when it comes to coverage as well. So that's the weakness, man, is communication, being able to stop the run, but the secondary, if you got enough time, you'll be able to make some things happen as a quarterback.
Interesting. How's your guys' offensive line holding up this year?
Oh, I'm loving the offensive line, surprisingly.
Okay.
But as a Giants fan, that's saying a lot. No, Andrew Thomas came back off an injury, and he's been playing at like an all-pro level. Last week was a little bit of a struggle for him. He gave up 4 pressures, but that was more pressures than he gave up the whole season. So he's been solid. Jermaine Illuminor on the right side, he's been solid as well. So we got bookend tackles. I think the weak link will be some of the guards. Van Roten's a little bit over, well, not even a little bit. He's 37 years old, a guy that's working on a 1-year contract right now. Possibly have his replacement, in the building still. But surprisingly, after all that, the offensive line has probably been one of the stronger units for the New York Giants.
See, this is what worries me about this game is like the 49ers should win, but we're not going to get after Jackson Dart. And if you give him time, I mean, that's exactly what a young quarterback needs. Your guys' one of your strengths is your offensive line. Our weakness is getting after the quarterback right now. And then on the flip side, even Trent Williams, talk about 37 years old. That's Trent Williams as well. Trent Williams, just for context, has given up more pressures this year than he had in any of the last 4 years. And it's only 8 games into the season.
So Father Time's tapping him on the shoulder right now?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, listen, he's still good, but it's just he's not the player he was.
Yeah.
And the rest of the offensive line is in shambles, man. So you've got this elite front 4 that can get after the core, and you send 5 or 6 to be real. So you got that against our offensive line, and then we got our defensive line that's in shambles versus your offensive line that's a strength. It spells like it could go sideways here. So that being said, it's a little bit of a preview, but we got to get to the score prediction. It's that time of the show, Dash. So give me your score prediction on this one. How do you see this going?
Yeah, I've been going back and forth. I thought maybe it could possibly be a low-scoring game, but then I thought about it. Watch the Houston game, and again, the Houston game might be giving me a little bit of false hope, but I do think it's a winnable game for the New York Giants if that pass rush can get home, and if we can rattle, whether it's Mac Jones or if it's Brock Purdy, if we can rattle them early, maybe this game turns into something. And also, one thing I know with the New York Giants, if we can play with a lead, if we can somehow get a lead on you guys and put you in obvious passing downs and try to take McCaffrey out of the run game, that also bodes well for us too. So for me, I got the New York Giants winning 24-21.
Ooh, very, very close to the score that I have. So here's the things that worry me. Why I just laid out some of it. Another thing that worries me is that the 49ers just played in Houston. They went all the way back home. They played in the 1 p.m. Eastern time slot, which is 10 a.m. Pacific for their body clock. They went all the way back home. Now they're going all the way out to New York and once again playing in that same 10 a.m. Pacific time slot, which is not ideal. So that worries me on top of some of the matchups. I can see how the Giants could win this game. I really can. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. I think this game's going to be close. I'm going to go 23-17 Niners. But I really could see a scenario where the Giants get this one done. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, Dash. We're in for a treat here.
Oh, I think so too. Like I said, it should be competitive at least. And Jackson Dart is undefeated at home when he's playing. So he has that going for him too. First home game without Scatterbo though, so we'll see what happens.
Well, I actually want to ask you a question around that. Burns isn't hurt, is he? Right? Burns is playing, right?
Burns had an issue with his foot. He plays through a lot of injuries though. If he's hurt, not injured, one thing about Brian Burns, he will play. Didn't show up on the injury report today, so that was fantastic for him.
So he's playing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the question I have for you. You guys had a heartbreaking loss to the Broncos. The very next week, you lose Cam Scatterbo. Do you think that this is a situation where that could have the team down and it's something that maybe a young team can't fight through? Or do you think it could have the opposite effect where it's like, hey man, we lost our guy. Let's go out there and get a win for him. We've had a couple rough weeks, but let's figure this out and bounce back. Like, which way do you think it could go here?
Yeah, well, the good thing is Cam Scatterable luckily had successful surgery.
Hmm.
It ended up not being as bad as people thought it was going to be. Only needs one surgery. That's what the reports were saying. He had that, and he's actually already in the building, rolling around. So, he's around the players, rolling around. So he's bringing that energy as far as practice goes. I don't know what they're going to do as far as the game. I wouldn't put him on the sideline, of course, with that injury. Maybe he's in the booth, but he's around the guys already. So that I think the energy is going to be there. With a lot of the outside noise happening with the Carl Banks and whole Dexter Lawrence issue, hopefully that's enough to add some extra fire to this defense to try to prove a point and stand up for their fellow player. So I don't think it's going to be any there won't be any kind of missing juice. There won't be any less juice than what we've had before outside of Cam Scatterable actually playing in the game. But my issue is still this, man. As far as being able to generate more points, Cam Scatterable was a big part of that and moving the chains. Somebody else has to step up. If it's Tyrone Tracy, fantastic. Keep using these tight ends, and then we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do at the wide receiver spot. With some guys being out.
All right, man. Well, listen, I'm looking forward to it. Congratulations on your success over your channel. Hopefully you
Appreciate
keep things up. Thank you so much for joining me. Everybody in Dash's chat, we appreciate you. Everybody in my chat, we appreciate you. Enjoy the game this weekend. Have a blast. Stay blessed. Talk soon. Peace.